Right, welcome back, guys. And I've got all the parts cut off for step number 3. It's actually the next day. Let this set for a night. Give it a gentle sand back there. I'll need to check some reference photos and see if there is actually a seam there, or whether or not we need just to fill that with a bit of stretch sprue. But I'll check that and let you know. But anyway, it all fits really, really nicely together, which is good. So the next step is to start putting on the final drive. This isn't keyed in any way. It is a little bit flashy, just around the inside edge. So just take a knife and scrape that flash away. And that's purely to make sure you get a good fit. There are ejector pin marks here. Really no reason to deal with them. They're not going to be seen. So Tamiya extra thin, touch and flow. Just remember, because there's a gap at the top, it won't flow all the way around, so you will need to make sure you've glued the whole circumference of the part you're affixing. Then what we can do is also come into the back and drop some extra thin in the back as well, just to, I get that in the picture, just to make sure that's fully glued in, which is fine. It's a bit of a loose fit. If you look, then you can see that there's a bit of a looseness about it. So I've just pretty much affixed mine towards the bottom of the aperture. If you want to glue it a different way, you can just put plenty of glue around here and then drop it in place, and that'll be fine. And again, just make sure it is in the same orientation as the first one, so you get an even track spacing. You can just come in and wick in a little extra glue just to make sure you've got a really good, strong, robust joint. You don't want these breaking out under tension from the vinyl tracks. The next ones to go in is A7. They are handed, in that they'll only go in one way if you look at the part and the orientation of the axle on the backing plate. So that goes to the bottom and just slips right through, and it should just firmly lock in place. Might need a little bit of persuasion, but when it goes, yep, there you go, nice click, and it's in, like so. Again, you can come in with extra thin. If you want a really strong joint, then you may as well coming in with some Revell contactor, and you know you're just going to have to glue around the opening in a rough rectangle shape, and then this big backing plate will just cover that glued surface and bond really nicely. Tamiya plastic works really well with Revell contactor. And then just make sure that you've got that part pushed down level and even on this plate here. So same again on this side. Generous coating of glue. Part drops in. Like so. And then we just push down so it is in the same orientation as the first one we put in. And if you want to just belt and braces, wick in a little bit of Tamiya extra thin, and that will just fill up any voids that haven't been covered by the Revell contactor. Right, next parts they are looking for us to do are the return rollers on the top of the parts. Now we've got Right, next up we've got the return rollers. They simply locate on the side. They are the same, and they have a triangular pattern, and they just fit in the hole. Realism, you're not going to see these. Once you get the tracks on and the side skirts on, they will disappear into the dark abysses of the running gear, never to be seen again. Now, the thing to pay attention with these parts is the fact that they only go one way. The fact that the return rollers are of different lengths. They are metal return rollers, so you don't have to worry about, you really don't even have to worry about painting them much because you're never going to see them. But you need to get them in the right orientation. So part A13 is the short one, part A12 is the long one. So the long one goes at the back and the short one goes at the front. The thing to pay attention to is there is a little bit of flash just around the rim of the face that needs a quick trim away. Just for neatness more as anything else. A quick scrape with the scalpel will sort that out. It's pretty much just on one of the parts. Oh no, it's on both parts. These are probably getting to be quite an old mould. What we are, 1982, so it is an old mould. Let's be real. It's not a young mould at all. So the return rollers just pop in. You can see you've got a long one at the back, short one at the front, and obviously they run either side of the centre guide horns in the centre of the tracks. And that helps A, keep the tracks directionally stable, and B, obviously stops the tracks from rebounding down onto the road wheels, so it helps keep the tension on them. And yeah, an integral part of the tank. So there we go, that's that part done. Now the next thing they're asking us to do is doing the tracks, and they say they're cementable tracks, but I'll just leave that probably until near the point where the wheels are done. But what we need to do is look at what part of construction is next. So we're looking at part 5. So we've got the driver's hatch to do, and we've got the headlight assembly to do. So we need to get the upper hull, and here is the upper hull. Pretty well clean out of the box. There's a couple of pieces here where it's obviously been cut away from its runner. We need to put fastening clip on the back. Obviously mine's going to be completely hulled down, so I'm actually going to put the driver's hatch straight in it, because it's going to be on the back of a tank. Although there's a driver, we could always have his head poking out. I haven't driven on, but no, I'll just put it straight, hull down, and then that makes it a lot easier. Anything for an easy life, to be fair, at this moment in time. Alright, let's have a look at these parts. So we need sprue B, and this is sprue D. That's sprue B, that's the one we're looking for. Okay, what number is that? That is B34. Can't see it for looking. 34 is there. So we'll get this piece on first, because what I want to do is consider as well whether or not we just crack straight on and join the hull to the upper hull to the lower hull, is what I'm thinking. Right, so that piece goes on there. Again, I'm going to use Revell contactor, purely because I want a good strong bond. And technically this isn't actually a structural piece. All it does is help locate the rear of the upper hull onto the rear of the lower hull, so the rear engine access panels. So just give that a glue in and a press down, and again just to help that contactor bed in. A little bit of extra thin all the way around, push and hold. And that will give it a really good strong bond. You can see the moulding date there, and that's a 1992 hull top, so it's a 10 years younger hull top from the 1982 hull bottom. Interesting to know. So that now we've got the there's two, see the two small locating tabs here and here, locate on this support rail here. And now that we've got the lock-in mechanism, that gives us something to lock in the back of the hull. And then we look at the front, and that's actually a really, really nice fit. So the other thing to do and think about is painting, and how we're going to tackle that, and when we're going to tackle that. Now obviously this tank's going to have side skirts on it, so you won't actually see much of this. I'm just considering whether we need to paint the lower hull before we glue the upper and lower together. But looking at the amount of access we're going to have, now we can clip this in place properly. We're not going to have a problem. Now, something that you might want to do if you're anyways going to have anyone looking underneath it is fill this gap in here. For me, again, it's not going to be a problem. If I just take off one of the side skirts, we can have a look. So if we pop the hull here, and then we get the side skirt and offer it up. So you can see how little you're going to see with regards to that gap, especially once the track's in place. You're not really going to see much of it, which is fine. But we'll crack on. There's a few bits that need to go on before we think about fully committing to gluing it together. Right. It's handy having the trailer here because I can just pop it on there. So we need B49, sorry, for the driver's hatch. And then we've got a pattern here for clear glazing to go in to the periscopes. So we'll just clean away any of the sprue gate, and then that can just pop down in there. Beautiful fit, really rather nice. And we'll just come in on the back, drop in a couple of drops of glue. You don't need to go overboard, it just needs to hold it in place. I'll worry about the periscopes after I've got it painted, to be quite fair with you. I have a little trick I will be able to show you that is quite good for giving you that nice sort of laser reflective glass look that these tanks have, and it's kind of a red glazing coating on the glass, so it's a nice red tint. Right, D38. I have a feeling that's that sprue. Is that sprue D? Yes, it is. So we're looking at the headlight assemblies. If we can find them. It's always a challenge when you're looking at these parts and they all look the same. There we go, D38, 2 of. And this is where a good pair of sprue cutters comes in handy. Just for getting in those tight spaces and a nice clean cut to minimize the amount of cleanup you're going to need. You can see that's just removed that part and there's virtually nothing there to clean away. A little scrape with the scalpel, being very careful not to take your fingertips off. And that's that part clean. And the second one's there. Now, interesting with these headlights, they both point the same direction. They're not handed, so it doesn't matter which side you put them on. They are the same. A little tricky fit for my big fingers. Touch and flow with the glue and a gentle bit of pressure, and they're in place. And then you'll see that this one, rather as having the indicator or the marker light on the inside as a mirror to the other side, then it's actually in the same orientation, which is kind of funny, but it is what it is. So just make sure they're both orientated the same and they both look of a similar, pointing in the similar direction. Right, next things to go on are we've got the recovery eyes and we've got the headlight protectors. And that's all on sprue B. So we have B10 and B9. Just here. There's B10. We'll hold on to B9. Don't get them muddled up, they look quite similar. So, big loop to the back. Again, these parts are handed, they'll only go on one way. Just need to give it a little bit of a clean. Sometimes it's handy to have tweezers, so just come in, paint the extra thin glue where the part goes, and then just set that part in. Now I've actually probably got from the Oshkosh kit, I've got quite a few spare D-shackles. So if there's none in this kit, we should be able to find a D-shackle to put in these recovery eyes, just to liven them up a little bit. Which just adds a bit of interest to the kit, doesn't it? Just going to zoom out a little bit. Very conscious that sometimes you might be out of shot with this. So. The reason I'm filming it in real time as well is to show you how quick and easy this thing's going to go together. And I've actually got a new product to use for the painting, so I'll be discussing that in possibly the next episode when we start looking at painting the wheels up. So there's the second recovery eye in place, just a little extra glue in there. Checking that they're both equal and the same. We haven't altered the positioning of the headlights any. All good with that. Right, B36 and B64, B63 and B64. There's two here. Again, these are handed, they'll only go on one way, so it doesn't really matter how you take them off the sprue. So there's 63 and there is 64. A little bit of a cleanup. And a little bit of cleanup here. Right, so that is 63 I've got. So that goes in there and up there. And I've built this kit, well not this particular kit, but I've built an Abrams from Dragon before now, and there is significant differences in the parts count and probably what you call the fidelity of the parts, how true to scale they are. In all honesty, these are possibly a little bit chunky. But they're doing what they need to do. Plus the fact it is the kit that the eventual owner of this model wanted me to use. So there are some newer options on the market for this kit, certainly from the likes of Rifle Models. I think Tacom possibly do one of these. I know Academy do one. There's all the Dragon kits, so you are spoilt for choice for Abrams. But Tamiya is a very reliable, well-made model that goes together well, and it's great for a beginner. So B21 is the next part. Here we go, B21, small grab handle. And with parts like this, what I tend to do is actually glue them in place first, and then once they're solid and cured, I come back in and just burnish up where the sprue attachment point was, and I just find it easier that way than trying to do it when they're a loose piece. Right, B69. There's a little square piece being here somewhere. Did I read that right? It is 69. That is sprue B. Where the hell's the part then? 65. 68. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? I don't readily see a B69. Could it be on a different sprue, is the next question I ask myself. Give me 2 minutes to find this part, because I don't see it, and I can't be very riveting viewing for you. Back in a moment. Found it. There's 68. There's part 69 there. Right on the other edge of the sprue. I think that's been a bit of an afterthought on Tamiya's part. I would have been surprised if it wasn't there, because it's not like Tamiya to make a mistake, in my experience. Right, so that part just goes in there. Again, touch of extra thin on either side, and then just lift and maneuver the part. There is a small block that the part sits on, and then we just need to make sure that it is perfectly level. We come in with a tool and just bridge the gap, and that will make sure that that part is in place. Excellent. Now there is a little bit of a sprue gate here, and just whilst we've got it off and we can get to it, we're just going to burnish it up. And there's a little bit there as well, but we're just going to burnish up, and then we'll come in with a smoother rather as a polisher, just to take the coarseness of the sanding marks away. Right, now they're saying it's ready for this to go onto the hull, and you need the two longer poly caps, but it's saying get the wheels on first. I actually think I'm going to leave this until we've done the whole undercarriage, and then we're going to put it on top. I'll be novel, because usually I rush to get it all completed and then regret not doing all the painting and detailing of the running gear before I put the top on. So I'm actually going to practice what I will preach and leave that for now. So we're going to move on to part 8, which is the turret. So I'll just get to the turret, and it is a huge turret. The Abrams does have a very, very big sort of pancake type turret. Very angular. If you compare it to the likes of a Challenger 2, it's more boxy. The angles on an Abrams turret are quite impressive. And then you've got these two ammunition blowout panels on the roof. That's basically designed that if the vehicle's been hit, then the overpressure of any ammunition burning off will dislodge those panels, and it will vent out the back of the turret, preventing the crew from being harmed. It's quite a novel idea indeed, and one I think that's certainly paid off from instances where these vehicles have been struck by action, friend or foe. There has been a number of Abrams knocked out in conflict, not only by enemy action, but I think unfortunately by blue on blue as well. So we'll just make sure we clean all those sprue attachment points away, and then we've got the ones on the lower turret here. So just orientate your blades in the same angle of the plastic we're working with, and then same with this, is just come in and just give it a nice gentle sand, making sure that you let the sander do the work. Don't press down hard. All you're going to do is gall up the plastic, and then we're just going to trial fit it together. And again, it's Tamiya fit. It's really nice, really is nice. So that's good. Right, we have to drill holes here, so this is where we need to stop and see what we need. So I'm just going to organize the drill, and we'll be back shortly. Right, we're back. So we are doing tank number A, or scheme A. So disregard these holes here on the blowout panels. We need to drill out this hole here and this hole here. Now I've got a battery drill I bought off of Tamiya actually, but it's got the right size bit carrier to take these carbide PCB bits, which is the ones I tend to use. 3 speeds. Really handy drill, perfect for this, for modeling. So we just want to come in here on the lowest speed and poke through, and it's simple as that. And this, you can see those holes there, they actually look like the factory holes now. Really recommend this drill. Jank Life, go on Temu, you'll see it. It was about 15 quid I think I bought it for. I probably got it cheaper because I probably got it on sale, knowing me. But it's excellent. Charges off a USB charger, and for all I need in modeling, that has been invaluable. So anyway, we don't need to put the platform for the crew figure to go in, because as I say, we're having it closed up. So we've done that bit. Next thing is we've got this part here. It's the lower, and we need to get in the breech holder here. So we've got F3, 4 and 3 going down onto F17. So here we go. Again F3. So it's a universal part. We don't even need to worry about trimming up any of the offcut, because it's not going to affect. Oh, that's really handy how they've done that. So a hole and a recess there, and that actually fully slots over there to give you a very, very solid bond. Again, we're going to come in here with a Revell contactor, and we're just going to give it a good covering, because we want it to hold and grip. So one piece in first, come in with the extra thin, just to give it that extra bite. The next thing is we need to put the breech holder in. Goes in this way. It looks like we need to get a couple of these vinyl polycaps. They look like they're different from the ones that we used. Just have a look in the box and see what we've got. Here they are. So you've got these long ones here that were on the ones for the wheels. They will do the front joint. The ones we're needing for the gun are these ones here. So I think what the idea is to do is actually just pop them straight on the mantlet. It's good that you got 4, plenty extra. Pop them on like that, and then that part can now be fitted in there like so. Now the question is, how easy is it going to be now that I've glued in one side to get the other side in and affixed? There's the challenge, and it's not too bad. There's enough give in the part with the glue being reasonably fresh for that part to go on. We'll just hold it up just a moment. We come in with a contactor just to give that a damn good gluing. Press together, extra thin, well jointed surface, and just push and hold. And it will, even 30 seconds of holding the parts together makes a huge odds for the bonded surface. We've got movement where we need it. That's fine. So the next thing to do is actually look at bringing these two parts together. So we'll just do a trial fit. Again, always better to have at least two or three trial fits before you commit to glue, just to see if there's any problems. Right, so looking at this part here, there is a nice ridge just along here. We can just set that applicator in and run in an even bead of contactor cement. And this is really why I like using Revell contactor in this precision application tube. This nozzle is just absolutely perfect for delivering the right amount of glue just where you need it. And you get the same application every time. Definitely one of Revell's better products. And Revell has quite a few good products. I'm not hating on Revell at all, but this is one of their products I tend to use an awful lot. The other thing you can do is use the side of the needle and just gently wash it over to get an even film of glue. And then we'll come in with a part and as precisely as you can get it located into the hole, into the turret top. And then what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to come in with some Tamiya tape. So we'll just get some 10mm and we'll tape it all together. Didn't want to do that, but never mind, I've done it now. So on the front like so. So get that corner nicely squared up there and just pop the tape on. This tape, some people love it, some people loathe it. These applicators or dispensers, they can be a pain in the nether region sometimes. You just need to take a breath, take the lid off, pull a bit more out and put it all back together. Tamiya tape is definitely I would class it as an essential modeling tool. I use it in all of my models for so many different things. Right, So we now need to, we've done the front, we need to get the back in position. Make sure that it's all nicely bonded up, lined up. So again with the tape, just come in a little bit of pressure, just so we're holding it and getting that firm bond. You're probably only going to need about a half a dozen pieces. Same again on this side, just gently push it into where you want it and then pull the tape over. It's quite nicely closed at the back. There is a bustle going to go on here, so you're probably not even going to see that joint, but it's always good practice to make sure all your jointed surfaces are properly stuck together. And if you ever want to go into modeling competitions, then I know the judging criteria is how well have you constructed your model. You know, are your joints even? Are they closed? Have you taken time to make sure they're properly aligned, etc., etc. So working on models like this that naturally want to join together well, and paying attention to getting those joints to go together well will certainly stand you in very good stead should you wish to go into competition, because that's one of those criteria that I believe gets a lot of modelers disqualified out of a competition at the first sort of sift, purely because there's a joint that's not done properly, and that's basic modeling skill. So another good reason to get into Tamiya armor kits, because they go together really well. Now you'll see that I've got a little bit of a fingerprint there. You can come in, if it's not too bad, with a sanding stick and just gently rub it out. Just be mindful that the plastic will be soft, so it may not just come out so easily. You might have to come in with a polishing stick and polish it up. That's that sorted. Disaster averted. Right, there's the turret. We can set that to one side to dry. Next thing we're on is the gun barrel, and this is something we need to be very, very careful with. It's nothing to be frightened of, but time taken here to get that joint as good as you can will reduce the amount of time you're going to have to take to sand and repair the seam. So take all the parts off to start with, and the main parts we're needing is the barrel and the muzzle. We've got the muzzle reference indicator there, and then we've got the mantlet parts here and the 50 cal shrouded barrel there. But the main thing we're needing to do the barrel in itself is the two barrel halves and the muzzle. 46. So this particular gun, in the original tanks, I believe it was the L105, the Royal Ordnance gun that was in the first of the Abrams, and then they were quite quickly upgunned to the 120mm smoothbore cannon, the American gun. Very, very effective weapon, similar to the 120mm smoothbore cannon, the Rheinmetall gun used in the Leopard 2 series and the late Leopard 1s, I believe. Totally different from the British main battle tank guns. Up until the new Challenger 3, Challenger 1, Challenger 2, Chieftain, then they all used a 120mm rifled gun with 2-part ammunition. And as far as I'm aware, the British Challenger 1 still holds the record for the longest recorded tank-on-tank hit of, I think, over 2 miles. which is phenomenal, really. Nearly out of sight, but in its day it was a very good gun. It's quite an old weapon now. Still very powerful weapon, but technology has moved on, I believe. So the new Challenger 3 tank is being re-gunned with the Rheinmetall smoothbore 120mm gun, and it's having an autoloader fitted, so it's doing away with the loader, so you just have a commander and gunner. So that's progress for you. So anyway, we're using the Revell contactor, and that's purely because A, it's a good hot glue, but B, it has, because it's not as thin as the Tamiya extra thin, then it has a bit of gap filling properties, and that's what we want for the barrel. Is we want to be able to just push this together and have that glue gently ooze out the joint, and then we need to set it aside and let it cure for a week or so. Well, I mean, not just a week, but you want 2 or 3 days, and you want all that glue to flash off, cure, and do any shrinking it wants to do. And that's the important thing, is you want the shrinkage to be taken place and stabilized to a point that when you do come in to sand the barrel halves and clean them up, it's not going to continue shrinking, and you're going to end up with a ghost seam in the barrel, because that is really, really annoying. So that's why we're using Revell contactor, just so we've got that gap filling properties. There shouldn't be any gaps in the barrel, and when it does cure up, it cures up nice and hard and avoids too much shrinkage. Now, the muzzle here, you can see me just scraping away the sprue attachment point, but it is actually a bloody awful part, in that it's got a terrible mold scene right around it. So, how do we get rid of that, I hear you ask? Well, we're going to come in with a flat file, and the reason we're using a flat file is because it's going to give us a nice even level finish, and there'll be no bending or flexing that a foam based sanding stick would give us. It's a metal file, so it'll give us a true even surface rather as a bowed surface, and that's what we want. We want to retain the cylindrical shape of this muzzle and getting rid of that mold separation line. So we can just gently rotate that file around the muzzle, and we can do a bit more sanding with a softer sanding stick once it's cured up, but let us get rid of as much as we can. Interesting, this part has already got the muzzle reference indicator on it as well, which is funny because it tells you need to have it. So have I actually got the right part here? Let me check again. Get the right sprue. Got the wrong part. I'm using the wrong part, so we're needing parts D, which is on this sprue, isn't it? Glad I noticed that. Don't make that mistake. D46 is here, and that looks a wholly better part. I can see why they re-engineered that. D46 and D47. There we go. Yes, that's so much better. Goodness me. Cool. Right. We may as well just pop that straight on there. So, generous piece of extra thin. And then just gently push it down onto the barrel. We don't need to squeeze out any excess plastic or anything. We just need to get it a good strong bond, and a good straight bond, which it is. And there's that kind of big wide open muzzle. And then we need to just put a little drop of glue here, and this is the muzzle reference indicator, and what this is actually a mirror. How does that go on? Oh, that must be the sprue attachment point I've not cleaned away. Silly me. So we'll try again. Yeah, so this is a mirror set at an exact angle, and when the weapon is zeroed, so if we look at this here, we need to make sure that the angle is correct, which it is. So when this weapon is first zeroed in the tank, then the gunnery sight, when they're reflecting a marker into the mirror and they're reading that reflection location, when it's zeroed, then when they check it again, they'll be able to see if there's been a shift in the orientation of the barrel, because this muzzle reference point here will have moved in the gradient that they're measuring it against. Very simple system. The other thing it'll take account of as well, these pieces here you see, that isn't actually the outside of the barrel. These are thermal shrouds over the length of the barrel, and they're designed to retain the barrel heat within the barrel and keep it at an even temperature. And if you think of physics and thermodynamics, then if you can imagine there is a breeze blowing over the barrel from either left or right to left, it doesn't matter. The side that is contacting the wind first will cool quicker than the leeward side, where the wind isn't blowing against the barrel. And of course, as we know, when metal cools, it shrinks. So if we didn't have thermal sleeves on the barrels, then you'd have this cooling effect blowing over the barrel, and the barrel will actually bend off towards the side that has the winds hitting first. So another reason why they have a muzzle reference indicator is it will take account for that change in point of aim as the barrel bends if it cools unevenly. So very important bit of kit. And you'll see a muzzle reference indicator on pretty much all modern main battle tanks. So that's what that is for, if you didn't know. Not that I'm a tanky, I come from an army background, so I'm interested in these things. Anyway, let's get the mantlet together. So I'm just going to cut all these parts off the sprue and clean them up, and then we'll come back and look at them coming together. So see you in a minute.